All right, thanks everyone for joining the June 22nd meeting of the Node.js Foundation Community Committee. Bit of a small crew here today. So there's myself, I'm Brian Hughes, I'm the chairperson of the Community Committee, known as Nebrius on GitHub and everything else. And I would like to go around, have everyone else introduce themselves. Jen, why don't you go first, since you're on the left
Sure.
on my screen.
So I'm Jen Turner, and my handle on Twitter is JenWrites, and then everywhere else I'm RenRutNedge, which is Jen Turner backwards. And yeah, this is my first time doing the secretary or minutes taking thing, so I'm happy that there's a small turnout and we don't have that much. But yeah, I write the Node community newsletter for the Node Foundation, and I've been a part of the community since 2012. So I'm very interested in this group and what we're gonna do.
Cool. Michael?
I'm Michael Dawson. I guess I'm an active contributor to a bunch of the work groups and on the CTC and TSC.
Hey, Olivia?
I'm Olivia, although my Google name probably says otherwise. And I've worked on inclusivity and other stuff in Node before, and yeah, also interested here as an observer today.
And Richard?
Hey, I'm Richard. I'm an observer. Been coming to the CommComm meetings for a couple of months now.
And Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Hines. I'm the Education Community Manager for the Node Foundation and member of the Community Committee. How's everyone doing?
Cool. And just so everyone knows, one of the reasons that we like to do introductions is, a lot of us, we see each other active online. We aren't necessarily good at putting like names to faces and like what we do and things like that. So I like to do that just so that everyone kind of knows who we are. All right, so we're going to get started on our agenda today. It's a fairly short one. First, we're going to start off with pull request number 77. So this is adding Jen and Tierney as members. So the reason that I opened this pull request and I wanted to get a discussion going is that we have this new minute-taking position. And right now, neither of the people who have volunteered to be minute takers are actually members. So I opened this up, but we've also been having some discussion around how we add people as members and like what should that process look like. And so I kind of want to have a discussion both on the PR itself, like should we move forward with this right now, but also should we flesh out the membership requirements first? What should they look like? Things like that. And so Tracy, you had a few comments as well, kind of outlining some of our previous discussions around this. Would you like to kind of give us a rundown around what some of those ideas were?
Yeah, so I don't want to hold this up because I think that they should be members. I just think that we've talked about, in a number of sessions, we haven't had it PR'd, but we've talked about the simple, explicit path for now that we wanted was just, you're observer for 3 months. And then if you've met the minimum participation, we put you on as a member. And it feels a little arbitrary just because the community committee is so new. And like basically the people who were around at like the first lineup got added or PR'd. And then after we realized we needed to have a membership idea PR'd, then we needed to follow it. But we haven't done that. So now I've just talked myself in a circle because until we have that, I think we should just add them. Sorry. I just realized that I was like, that's really silly. So we need to, the two things are, yes, I'm totally for it because we need to PR a process and this seems silly. So like, let's PR a process, a simple one to start, but like either way, they should just be added. And honestly, I think that goes for anyone who's been attending meetings who would like to be added.
Yeah, I think you don't have any problem explaining that as part of the bootstrap, right? That's a lot of the working groups. That's the way they started out. It's like whoever showed up gets joined, and only once you sort of get going and have enough momentum do you really need to make it any more formal than that?
Yeah, it just seems very unnode-like for us to like not do something because we don't have a process when like it can be a really, we're starting, right?
Yeah.
Let's get the process together, but let's not impede things because of it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And I totally get the running around in circles on this because there is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We need to get people in there and moving, but we also need to have this process documented. But yeah, I think this all sounds good to me. Jen, what do you think, since this does involve you?
I don't care, to be honest. Is that fair to say? I just want to follow the process, and I think like if Tierney and I are going to have like any kind of visibility, like we should definitely be held to whatever the process is, and not just add it in because I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think that's totally fair and totally makes sense. So it sounds like we should probably go ahead and add the two of you for now, as well as a couple other people. So like Olivia, I think it would make sense to add you as well. And Richard, are you a member yet? I actually can't remember.
I'm not.
But yeah, so like, if you want to be, I think that would make sense as well. And then we could maybe, what do people think about this? We could consider like sort of this group, the folks that we just mentioned, adding them, and this could be like sort of the bootstrapped group. And then after this, we could try and get, a basic process in place for the next group of people that comes in. I don't know, what do people think about that?
I think that sounds good. I just wanted to look and see who else has attended meetings lately, because I think that would be, it would be nice to ask them if they would also like to be on that list.
Yeah, exactly that. That's what I wanted to say. Like, consider, like, have a look if some other people are also regularly contributing or anything, and then include them in that as well.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep, definitely makes sense.
Yeah. And Michael, would you like to be added, or would you like to continue to be an observer visiting like via the TSC?
I'm happy either way. So, I'd leave it up to somebody else to decide what you think makes the most sense there. I do plan to continue to participate regularly, but I don't want to push for either way.
I'll just say that in terms of prior art, as much as we can cite that, I think it would make sense to go and add you as a member, since I'm a member of the TSC and chairperson of CommComm, and that way the chairperson of the TSC would be a member of CommComm. That way we get like some symmetry.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I like the idea of TSC being represented as part of the voting members of the CommComm. I think that's a good thing.
Okay, then sure.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll take down as an action item to reach out, to go through the list of like everyone who's attended and go and like reach out to all of them and see if they're interested in becoming members and giving that PRN.
Cool.
All right, anything else anyone wants to add before we move on?
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yay.
Yay, yep, definitely. All right, so next up we have issue number 63. This is Move the Node Together repo as an org under CommComm. I know there was, if I remember correctly, there was like a couple of just things that we needed to vet from the foundation side before that happened. Is there any updates or progress on that?
Let's see. So it was, that's my mistake. If I didn't put it in, I need to put it in the issue itself and not just words in a meeting. It was my understanding that the board had no problem with it and didn't seem to think that there was a resolution required from them. They just expressed caution with us having, they requested that we have legal look at the practices regarding application for students. So there was no blockers. It was just like, please do this as part of it.
Okay, so just to be clear, make sure we get this order of operations correct. We can go ahead and bring it in now and then have legal look at it after we bring them in. Is that acceptable, or do we really?
Yeah, because I mean, here's the thing, like so that's up to Rachel if she finds otherwise. But like, if Node Together comes in, right, and they have practices that are, it's not if. When Node Together is a repo in the Node project, there is the legal team is supposed to be deferred to. So the practices that Node Together has as an organization have to align with what legal, right? They have to be able to give their advice. The TSC, I think, has seen that to a certain extent. Like, it's not what legal says goes, but they're going to tell you, like, there is liability here. We can get sued if you don't follow our advice, right? So there's no blocker.
Okay, so I think we should take 2 action items from this, and correct me if I'm not interpreting this correctly. So we should go ahead and bring in Node Together now. There's nothing blocking us. We just need to do the actual work to bring in that repo. And then also we need to make a request to the board. So this would be something to do through Ashley or William, and have them request that the board request legal to take a look at these documents. Does that sound like the correct action items?
That is correct.
All right, cool. I'll also follow up on moving like all the repository stuff over, since I do have permissions to create repositories and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I guess Rachel would have to help with that as well.
Yes. We'll probably need people on both ends, or like from both organizations, GitHub organizations specifically, to do some of this work. Yeah,
and then once that gets moved over, we'll have plenty of issues open, I think, around the the Slack organization and stuff like that.
Right. I'm the Slack. I mean, I assume that would just stay as is, since we don't have any sort of like uniform communication channel.
Right. Yeah. It's just I know that the people had brought up the concern about the admin access and stuff. So it's just like getting ducks in a row. But none of that matters until Node Together's been moved over.
Okay. That's right. I remember that now. Cool. Was there anything else with this one that we need to handle, or is like once we do these 2 things, we're done?
I think that's it.
Okay. If anything else comes up, of course, we can deal with that when we get there.
Cool.
Cool. Any other last-minute thoughts?
One thing that I've noticed, and this isn't meant to be an insult to anyone, but is that, for example, the meeting minutes for the last meeting, or like maybe this meeting 2 meetings ago, have come up like 3 days ago, which is, I think, a little late. I don't know. I can't remember if this is like a recurring thing, but I think it would be nice to have them on time, maybe like 1 day later.
That should be changed now that we have.
Can I interrupt? Where are we at on the agenda? Is this related to the?
I think we're done.
Yep.
Right.
We're halfway through the agenda. We finished up number 7. And
I thought we were done. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to take notes, and it started to not make sense.
Yeah. So what we're discussing right now is not on the agenda. I think it's fine to discuss. I think this is actually a really important thing to discuss.
Yeah.
But so we finished up number 77. We finished up number 63, and we have not started number 46 or number
46. Okay.
So yeah, we can just create a bullet for like this is just a new agenda item. So first, with regards to the last one, I think I submitted the last 2 or 3 minutes. I don't quite remember, but yeah, I was late on this one. That's on me. I was busy. This is also kind of one of those gray areas where we don't actually have this assigned as an official person to do this. I can continue doing it. I'm fine with that. We could also have whoever takes notes do it. I'm also fine with that. I think the latter might make a little more sense, just because that way, since in this case, Jen, you actually took all the minutes and everything, you would therefore get the collaborators credit and like the contributor stats and things like that on GitHub. But also, is that something that you would like to undertake?
Honestly, I just assumed that it would be part of the role. was like making sure that the documentation then got like pushed out to the community.
Cool. Yeah, that part's pretty straightforward. It's just you take a listen to the Google Doc. I think there's like a line at the top you just delete and then create a pull request with the content.
Nice.
But yes, I do agree. We should be faster about that. So like actually, ideally, what we should probably do moving forward, and once again, I apologize for not doing that. That's on me. We should submit the PR pretty much right after the meeting's done. I've never really gone through and done much editing prior. I just kind of copied what was in there. And that usually works pretty well.
That sounds like an idea.
Yeah, and that's my apologies on my end too, because I've definitely been a note taker in many of the sessions, and it just did not occur to me to ask who should be doing it. And I think I'd done it. I PR'd it a while back, but that doesn't mean that I assumed it was my responsibility. So sorry about that. I could have checked with Brian.
Yeah, well, open source, free isn't puppy, right?
Yeah. I love puppies though.
All right, any other thoughts? Does it sound good to everyone?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go and move on to number 46. This is very, very similar to the previous one, a request to move Node.js/education under CommComm. See, last time I looked at this, I think we're ready to do this. We just need to actually do it. Is that correct?
I believe so. What that means just means like adding the tag at the top in the README, right?
Yeah. And then we need to add a note in the README for the education repo, and then we have it's okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's in our README.md file. We have a list of teams and working groups underneath.
Cool.
This.
I was just going to ask if we'd done that yet. Cool. Yeah. So add that in both places.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Woo.
Along this note, just sort of a note for everyone. I've been working with the evangelism working group. They're most likely going to come under us. The working group has signed off on that, and now I'm just working with the CTC to get their approval.
Nice.
So then once that happens, then I'll open an issue for CommComm in which we get all of us to talk about it and vote on it. So yeah, no agenda items for us yet, but there will be one coming soon. Just, got to get our ducks in a row on that one too. All right, so action, just once again, confirming the action item from this one, number 46. Sounds like Tracy, you'll take this on. That's to submit a PR to both the education repo and to the CommComm repo, just updating, saying who is the owner of that group.
Cool. Yep.
All right, so the last one is issue number 38, adding folks as members. So we kind of talked about this one earlier, in reference to adding Jen and Tierney. So we have an action item for now to go and get people added, but this one is talking about like what should that process actually look like. Is there anything we want to talk about in this meeting? So I'm not sure if we actually have agenda items, but
I think we should have removed that tag because this is the Groundhog's Day item, I think, that keeps coming up. It just needs to be PR'd. I think we've talked about it a number of times. There's notes that we can look at from the prior sessions. It just needs to be PR'd.
Okay, all right, I removed the agenda label from that one. While I'm thinking about it, is everyone also okay with me removing the agenda item from the request to move Node.js education, since we have action items and they just, at this point, I don't think there's anything else for us to discuss.
On that one or in general?
For number 46 as well.
Yeah,
request
cool.
move.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to remove the CC agenda label from that one too. And same thing for move node together repo. I believe we're done discussing, and now we're just kind of waiting up here. But once again, please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I want to make sure that there isn't anything that we don't let anything slip through the cracks. Okay, all right, removing that label too. All right, and so with that, that is all of our agenda items. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up, just kind of more generically?
I think I wanted to visit, like, sort of visit the idea of travel fund for CommComm, because I think, like, in terms of, if you think about scope, it is separate, of course, from TSC travel fund. And I just wasn't sure if this is something like the TSC is going to be making an additional allocation request for their travel fund for the rest of the year. And I didn't know if we would need to establish a separate CommComm one so that we can make sure we can get, you know, CommComm folks to Node Interactive as well. As the collab summer, it's a really vital conversation to have if we can do that. And we can make that request to the board. We just have to, you know, agree as a group that we'd like to do that. And then Ashley and William would request that.
So a little bit of a background for those who aren't aware. The TSC does have a travel fund that they can use, you know, to send people to these kinds of conferences. It is approved, or it's given out by the board. And the way this is typically used is we request that people who want to travel, like if they work for a company that is a member of the Node.js Foundation. So this is like, for example, Microsoft, you know, that I work for. If they work for a member company, then we request that they ask their company to pay for travel. But if they are not part of a member company, then we will pay for their travel to go to these events. So that will cover usually like airfare, flights, and food as need be. Because we really want to get as many people in as possible. And so that's usually the purpose, is to get people to Collaborators Summit. Because we sit beside the TSC as opposed to being under them, that technically speaking, that fund does not apply to us. We could probably use it, but I think that, yes, we should have our own, because I've seen that be really useful for the TSC.
And I'd say, why not, right? So.
Yeah, I like the idea of it because it's just getting more people to, like, what I see as like the most valuable contributor meeting, you know, of the year, and for us to be able to also, it would be really neat because what the TSC uses it for is for relevant travel. So it's not just like Node Interactive. It can also be like TC39. So if we can deem something like relevant to community committee's interests for someone to be going and representing us, that's an opportunity that we can look at to do so. So that's really exciting. We just, you know, it's an issue filed anytime someone is requesting that. It's a pretty simple process. And I think that's, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because for me, I wouldn't see any other way to attend any of those events. So yeah.
Yeah.
Practical thinking.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, if there aren't objections, I'll put that together. I'm actually trying to dig up the original documentation for the travel fund so that I can just PR that really quick, because I would like Ashley and William, if we can get it, to be able to request the allocation next week at the board meeting, and it's on a Tuesday instead of a Monday, so that gives us a little more time. Because otherwise it's just it's another month that people can't be planning, right, to attend. So watch out for that PR.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I was actually about to say exactly that. Yeah, keep an eye out for notifications because, yeah, I think it makes sense to get that landed as soon as we can. Do we need to have a discussion around amounts or anything like that? I'd imagine it'll be less than the TSC just because we oversee fewer people. But with the evangelism working group moving in, that is, you know, more people. And also, so I want to say that, yeah, to echo what Tracy said, these collaborative summits are really, really valuable. And at the last one in Berlin, we actually had a lot of CommComm specific discussions with those who were able to be there. And I think we made a lot of good progress. So yeah, I definitely encourage everyone here to attend if you can and if you're free. And that, yeah, we'll figure out.
Do we, the next Collaborator Summit is at where? North America Interactive or something?
Yeah, it's at in Vancouver in October at Node Interactive, North America.
Okay. So maybe you should factor in how many people that would require the travel fund come from Europe because that's marginally more expensive.
Yeah, so when I did the request for allocation for the TSC, the calculation that I did is something that I use for my community conferences where we pay for everyone who's speaking to travel in. And so we tend to, you still have to pick a number, right? So we tend to do 500 for domestic travel and 1,000 or a little bit more for international travel. Because if you do it far enough ahead of time, that can be a reasonable number. And because it's an estimate, most times people come under that and it's totally fine. I don't think we've ever stretched these funds to their limit. So then you just have to be careful in how many people that you're estimating. And then we also include, you know, I know the cost of the hotels in the area for Vancouver and the place that we've contracted as a block for the conference. So I'm not going to do below that because I don't want someone to have to be, you know, staying in a hostel because we went too low with the estimate. And then like the number of days, right? So.
Yeah, makes
The
sense.
hostels are really fun there.
Yeah, I know that too. If you could get people to go all together. I'm not opposed to people staying in hostels. I like staying in hostels. I just don't want anybody to feel forced into it.
Some of us can also stay with friends. I did that in Berlin. I'll probably do it in Vancouver if I go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if so, then that just, you know, that saves money. So that's nice. It's great because then potentially more people can attend. And I found people are very reasonable when it comes to these requests, right? Like people aren't staying at 5-star resorts and flying first class because that is all way too expensive.
Hi, Michael.
Bye. But yeah, so when I file the PR will also have the breakout of how that estimate came to pass.
That sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
And just giving a little heads up about this, I'm assuming we want to PR the existing documents for the TSC. Is that correct?
You said PR the existing the document similar to what the TSC already had?
Yeah, we're just going to take those and like bring those in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There is some discussion going on within the TSC about that process, though. It does need some work still. I think we can definitely improve it. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of a warning, though, because of timing. I think it would probably be prudent to go and bring in those documents as is, just so we have something.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can talk about improving them later. But yeah, just giving everyone a heads up, you know, there will be some like weaknesses and things you'll probably see in them.
Yeah.
They're kind of known.
Okay. I'm going to look for that.
All right. So next, let's see. Has anyone seen if there's been any Q&A in the YouTube? We're going to move to that section next. If not, I can check real quick.
While you're checking, on YouTube, are they able to see the chat that we have? Does anyone know?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay, so when we sign off, putting stuff in the chat, it might actually be best just to say it. Otherwise, it might be confusing for people who are watching. So, for instance, Mike said I have to drop off now. And then we all said bye. But that may be confusing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Just a small.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
If anyone watches this, are people known to watch these things?
Yeah, we usually get a few people who watch. I had to mute just because whenever you go from one window to the other, you get a lot of feedback, like audio feedback. Yeah, so Mark.
I watch most of them, by the way, for writing stuff up later. So they are pretty useful.
Yeah, I seem to recall from the stats for the TSC, we usually get like maybe a dozen or so people who watch them. I mean, actually, we have 7 people watching right now, so in case anyone's curious.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Mark Hinkle, the executive director of the Node Foundation, did have a quick question. I see now, do you have an idea of how many people you think you'd need to fund travel to Collab Summit this fall, ballpark? So we kind of had that discussion already, and we can also continue that offline.
But yeah, that's a good point, because I think that would probably be the first thing that would be questioned when I file that PR and put the estimate in, is going to be, you know, that final number of cost times how many people. So, do we want to look? So what I did for Collaboration Summit was look at the total attendance, and then did, like a modifier of like, I expect 50% of them to require travel, attendance assistance. And that was how we did that. And that was a little arbitrary, but like, it still comes out to a pretty healthy figure. And we didn't use that last year. Like, I know for sure, with the budget that we had, like what we hit, and it was nowhere near there. And that was just for the one. So it was a pretty easy way to tell, like, not between two summits. So yeah, we'll definitely want to look at like maybe how many members of evangelism there are, because evangelism is pretty active, and we're not going to be taking on, as far as I could tell, any other large working groups. And then the people who are existing members of the community committee, minus the people who are working for major companies that are corporate members, right? Would that be a good?
I think it would probably be wise to also have some like inflating factor on top of it, just because since we are new, I think it's reasonable to assume we'll probably grow at least some between now and the Collaborator Summit. So we probably want to have some headroom as well for new people who might come on.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 30%. I'm making up a number here, but
yeah. All right. Yeah, no, that's good. And then we'll make that clear on the calculations. So if the board is asking for that breakdown, we'll be able to explain that, because they could potentially come back with us and say like they don't want to cover 130%, but they're happy to cover a certain amount.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so I think that is everything for this meeting. Thank you everyone for joining in. Our next meeting is going to be, let's see, I'm looking that up right now. July 6th, thank you. This is what I get for not having that document open with the date that I created. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. And actually, okay, so I just remembered to a point earlier, Tracy, that you had asked about. The way we get things added to agenda is we tag them as CC agenda. Anyone who has the permission to add this label is free to do so. And if you don't have the GitHub permissions to do so, then you can ask that it gets added, and we'll add it. We have but we don't have a policy on this, but I want it to be a very open policy that anyone can suggest things be added to the agenda. So if there's anything that people want us to discuss at the next meeting, please feel free to tag it as CC agenda, or ask in a thread that one of us who has permission to do it do so. And we will talk to you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.